This morning, I turned on my Tennis Channel Plus subscription on my Apple TV, and I'm not sponsored by Tennis Channel, but I do love Tennis Channel Plus. The app is so great because it shows you so many different tournaments, even challengers. And sometimes it's tough to make a choice when there are several great matches going on. And this morning's choice was really tough because there was a women's match on, Rybakina versus Noskova at the WTA 1000 Wuhan. And for you guys that don't know, I prefer to watch WTA matches over ATP matches. So unless there are specific players performing on the ATP, I will almost always choose to watch a WTA match. Now, on the ATP Tour at the tournament in Shanghai, it was Rune against Vacherot. And I will never miss a Holger Rune match. To me, he is one of the most entertaining players on tour. One of the best matches that I've seen ever, even though it wasn't a big tournament, was the 2023 Munich final, which was a 250 clay court tournament prior to Roland Garros, in which Rune beat Banden Zandskop in a very entertaining three-set match. And it's not only Rune's play style that I like, because he has a lot of variety, somewhat similar to Carlos Alcaraz, actually. He likes utilizing the drop shot. He's not afraid to come to the net. He can play very good defense. He can also absolutely blast the ball. One of the hardest hitters on tour. In 2022, when I made the next big three video, I had put Rune in the next big three alongside Sinner and Alcaraz. That video didn't age too well because Rune is far behind in results compared to Sinner and Alcaraz, and his game has somewhat stagnated. But nevertheless, at that point, I thought that Rune was the hardest ball striker on tour. I think that title goes without a shadow of a doubt to Jannik Sinner. But fact is, Rune can absolutely blast the ball. And in today's match, I thought that Rune was going to come through. I thought that Vacherot had a lot of tough matches coming from the qualies. He beat some spectacular players, including Bublik, which was one match that I did not expect him to win. Vacherot was in the quarterfinals facing Holger Rune, and it didn't look good for him in the first set. It was a very physical first set that went 6-2 to Holger Rune. But Vacherot hung in this match and was fighting very hard, hitting some spectacular backhand passing shots. Not necessarily always for winners, but he was able to manipulate the ball and give Holger Rune very tough volleys. So he ends up winning the second set 7-6 with a spectacular tiebreak that he won 7-4. And the match continues to be very physical. At 3-all, Holger Rune starts showing physical problems. It looked like cramps to me, but interestingly, Vacherot, who played so many matches in this tournament, was not showing any signs of a physical decline in this match. And the guy is unbelievably fit. And he basically won this match from the physical standpoint, because once a player starts getting cramps, that's something that's very difficult to come back from. But respect to Holger Rune, because he tried in this match. That game at 3-all, he pretty much gave away blasting the ball. But then in the following games, he continued to run and he was limping all over the place. And he found himself down 3-5 and he was serving to stay in the match. And he started to throw in 130 kilometer an hour serve. And you would think that he wouldn't have a chance of serving that slowly, but he ended up holding this game to love. And in the game at 3-all, where he was serving his normal speed, he couldn't win a single point. Tennis can be crazy like that sometimes. And a returner can certainly get thrown off when the server is not given any pace whatsoever. And also, in Vacherot's case, I do think that there were some nerves at play, because with this victory, he was going to go into the top 100, being ranked outside of the world's 200 best players. That is an incredible jump. Serving at 5-4, the match continued to be very interesting, and Rune somehow managed to go up 30-40 and had break point to even this match at 5-all. The point at 30-all featured a very shaky swing volley from Vacherot that he didn't place well, and Holger Rune was able to hit a phenomenal forehand passing shot. And Holger continued to fight and was able to save a match point from Vacherot, but eventually Vacherot toughed this game out and won the third set 6-4. Now, interestingly, Vacherot is from Monaco, and I've heard that he practices with a lot of top players since many of them live in Monaco. And this brings up the question whether somebody can improve their level when they practice with better players? And I've made several videos on my channel about this subject. And the answer is you absolutely will not increase your level when you practice with better players. When there is a huge level discrepancy and the better player is beating you 6-0, 6-0, you will not get better. The level has to be close enough where the player that's worse can benefit from practicing with a better player. And this brings me to something that I saw on X, a post from John Wertheim. And this study, featuring 2,000 people, so pretty decent sample size, dealt with questions how regular players would fare against professionals. And I've talked about this subject many, many times. And speaking of Vacherot practicing with top players, the level that Vacherot has, even though he was ranked in the 200s, is so unbelievably close to the top of the game. There's almost no skill discrepancy. And it's for that reason that he was able to make it into the semifinals. But what these people that make these delusional statements online don't realize is that you take a regular college player in the United States, let's say a Division I player, doesn't have to be a top level. That person has a skill level that's way closer to the big three or Sinner and Alcaraz than a recreational player compared to that D1 player. So players of that caliber are so far away from the recreational level at so many aspects of the tennis game. Now, speaking of skill sets, I want to go back to something that the great Niki Pilic said many times when he talked about Novak Djokovic. Something that he always talked about in interviews was a pie that had 10 slices. And Niki wouldn't categorize all the 10 slices when he was talking about a skill set that a player needs to have in order to have success at the professional level. Niki would usually call off 3 or 4 factors. And 3 or 4 years ago, I made a video where I featured a pizza with 10 slices, and I had finished Niki's thought process, and I listed 10 skills that players must possess in order to have success at the professional level. You can check that video out. I'm going to link it in the pinned comment. But the interesting thing about Novak is that when you take these 10 skills that players must possess, he is 10 out of 10 on each one of them. And that's something that's so unbelievably rare. And it's for that reason why he is the greatest player in the history of tennis. And the most impressive skill regarding Novak is the will to win, which is so strong. And I do believe that even though Nadal and Federer had incredible will to win, especially Nadal, I think Novak's will to win is just a little bit stronger. And even at the age of 38, we're still seeing this. And I want you to put what I just said into context. He's 38. He doesn't need to do this anymore. The conditions in Shanghai are absolutely brutal. It's hot, it's humid, and so many players are struggling. You can see that they're drenched in sweat. A lot of players are cramping, and the conditions also are unbelievably slow this year. And we've talked in the past about how horrible the balls are on the ATP Tour. So a lot of long rallies, very physical tennis, and players are having a hard time. And it would make sense that someone at the age of 38 would have physical issues that are more severe compared to younger players. But in Novak's case, the will to win is so strong, and his skill set in all factors regarding tennis are so through the roof that he just finds a way to win these matches. So in the quarterfinals against Munar, Novak had won the first set. He lost the second set 7-5 after some absolutely brutal rallies. And on set point, Novak was so exhausted that he fell down to the court. And what happens with the vast majority of players is that after something like that, they're usually done. I've talked about Rune a while ago, where once his body started breaking down at 3-all, he was pretty much done. He was fighting and trying to win, but he was done. He couldn't tap into this extra gear and recover physically. But Novak Djokovic, in the third set, does something that he did hundreds of times throughout his pro career at the most important tournaments, at the most important stages of tournaments, and against the best players. And that's find his best tennis pretty much immediately. So he was absolutely dead, not doing well physically, And he ends up fighting and playing extremely well and winning that third set. Now, in the quarterfinals against Bergs, Novak played a good first set, but very similar to Rune and Vacherot, it was a very physical first set. A lot of long rallies, and even in that first set, Novak was going down to his knees and he was gassed. And now in the second set, Novak breaks it 4-all. But serving at 15:30, there is an absolutely brutal rally where Novak is covering a lot of ground and Bergs ends up winning this point with a backhand overhead angled cross-court winner. Novak, again, is completely gassed. He ends up losing serve after Bergs hits a inside-out two-handed backhand return winner. Again, a lot of players at this stage would lose their momentum. The opponent has a lot of momentum, and the match can flip. Novak Djokovic somehow has this incredible will to win and also focus to find his best tennis almost immediately. And there was a rally at 30-all with Bergs serving at 5-all that I'm sure you saw. It's all over social media where Bergs was trying to put the ball away, but he couldn't. Bergs is hitting forehand swing volleys, trying to hit winners. I think he hit 4 overheads in this rally. One of them Novak saved spectacularly by crouching down and hitting the ball like this. And eventually Bergs ended up hitting a forehand a little bit wide cross court. And Novak breaks again, serving for the match at 6-5. And again, a very physical game, but Novak prevails. He will now face Vacherot in the semifinals. And that's going to be a tough match because Vacherot seems to be doing well physically and he is gaining a lot of confidence. Now, the big question mark is, and it relates to something that Berg said at the net to Novak Djokovic, which was, I gotta stop idolizing you, man. A lot of players, when they step on the court against Novak Djokovic, they idolize him, and that gives them a disadvantage when they're trying to take him out. So whether Vacherot will step on the court with the belief that he's going to win this match, that's a big question mark. But from a physical standpoint, he of course has a chance. But I do think that the road for Novak Djokovic is clear to take his 41st Master Series title. This is something that's incomprehensible to me. He's in the 40, 60, 80 club. He made 80 semifinals, 60 finals, and he won 40 finals at the ATP Masters 1000 level, which is absolutely mind-boggling. Now, if he comes through Vacherot, we'll have to see who he's going to face in the final. There are a lot of tough players up there. Another super entertaining match in the quarters was Medvedev against Tien. Let's see if Medvedev can take out Alex de Minaur. That's going to be a tough match. But again, I do believe that Novak Djokovic will come through. And if he ends up winning this tournament at the age of 38, he would have an unbelievable year that will not go in any of his record books, so to speak. But I think it's one of the most impressive things that Novak Djokovic has ever done, even if he loses the semifinal match in Shanghai, which is reached 4 consecutive Grand Slam semifinals at the age of 38, and also playing well in some other tournaments. For example, he made the finals in Miami. So an absolutely spectacular season for Novak, and for sure a golden opportunity with Sinner and Alcaraz not present for him to go all the way through and take Master Series title number 41.